Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Mic check seems to work. Mic check. Cool. Hello, everybody. I'm forecaster Brian Ivey for Neoweather.com. Welcome. Currently, not too many people watching yet. Hopefully, that changes as we go throughout the next little bit here. But I just wanted to kind of do this to show you a little bit about our incoming snowstorm that'll be moving in tonight, affecting the whole area throughout the day tomorrow and tomorrow night. All those Super Bowl parties around the area that will be affected and whatnot as well. So this is just kind of going to be a general discussion. I'm here to answer any of your questions once you guys come here and join us, and also just kind of provide some insight and my own thoughts and opinions on what's going to happen with the storm, plus what you guys could expect as far as potential dangerous impacts on the roadways and elsewhere. So let me just make sure a couple things are updated here, as I've been trying to keep in touch with the colleagues and whatnot, stay ahead of the storm, keep a good forecast out, just stay on the same page. So for right now, we're going to expect our snowstorm to be off towards the plains. Let's take a look at where it is. I'll turn on the screen share here. And there we go. So currently on the 3D Max Doppler radar network, here is our current location on our snowstorm. It is out towards the Central Plains and the Midwest, and it is definitely blossoming this evening compared to where it was just a few hours ago. We saw generally just a little bit of precipitation down across Texas and Oklahoma earlier, with just a tiny bit of snow up in Kansas and Iowa. But now look at all the snow that has really blossomed with this storm, from Kansas City back to Champaign, Illinois, and Indianapolis, through Chicagoland, Milwaukee to Sioux Falls. So this is a pretty decent system at this current point. This is kind of a combination between a panhandle hook and a Rocky Mountain low. So typically a panhandle hook will have the center of the low pressure somewhere near the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle, and it will come northeastward, move across somewhere over the Ohio Valley area. Sometimes it cuts northward and moves through Chicago or Detroit if it's extremely north. Other times maybe from Dayton up to Erie and Buffalo. And then a very southerly panhandle hook would take a track kind of like this: northern Tennessee Valley and the southern Ohio Valley. But this storm is kind of, the low is up here a little bit, and the energy is coming down from the north, and we'll show you a little bit more on that in just a few moments. But the combination of this kind of also resembles a Rocky Mountain low, because you're getting some Gulf moisture pulled in like a panhandle hook, but your low pressure is a little bit closer to the Rocky Mountains in the western plains, and instead of moving generally from southwest to northeast, it's going to track kind of like this, generally west to east across the area. So this huge swath of heavy snow right here, it's not going to move northward and cut through the Great Lakes. It's generally going to slide off towards the east. So this big batch of snow right here is only going to intensify and slide directly eastward. So Detroit, Cleveland, Fort Wayne, Erie, Rochester, yeah, you're all going to be inundated with plenty of moderate to heavy snow once we really get going with this system. But one of the big things to kind of look at as we go throughout our next few days is going to be the potential for some significant accumulation in spots. It's not going to be a widespread major snow event for the whole state of Ohio or anything like that, but especially northern Ohio, looking at probably the biggest synoptic or system snow that we've seen since 2012, which obviously dates back a few years. So something significant that the snow belt counties of northeastern Ohio and northwest PA might see on a semi-regular basis a couple times a year. But as far as a widespread system snow, this is rare. and this will cause a lot of delays and cancellations as far as schools go, probably delays at local airports as well. And then as we look through the day on Monday, it's going to get pretty cold, and we might even have another day off of school for many of the kiddos sometime later this week, with a couple of chances at below zero low temperatures. So plenty to talk about tonight. Thank you for joining me. Again, I'm forecaster Brian Ivey here from Neoweather.com's Cleveland office, but we're going to break things down pretty much for the whole state with a little bit more of a focus on what's going on across northeastern Ohio. So back to the screen sharing I go here in just one moment. There we go. And let's take a look at the radar once again. And I wanted to just dive in and take a look at the temperatures. Temperatures are generally up into the low, almost middle 30s in a few locations. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to see a super wet, sloppy, slushy snow or anything like that. We're actually going to see temperatures maybe start out around kind of where they are now, maybe a little bit warmer across the south, but not really too much warmer north. Generally around 30 degrees tomorrow, and eventually we're going to see those temperatures take a little tumble. So we're not looking at a super wet, slushy snow. We're not looking at a ton of mix from this either. So that's definitely good news if you just want just straight snow, if you maybe want to go out and build a snowman or have a snowball fight, make a snow fort, or even possibly just not really wanting to deal with aching back when you try to go and clean it with a snowblower or even, of course, shovels, because that wet snow obviously can be very bad for you, and they call that heart attack snow. It's hard to move, but the good news is we're going to see falling temperatures. It's going to become a drier snow, a little bit easier to move, but that also means higher ratio snows. Now, the colder the temperature is, the less the atmosphere can hold as far as moisture goes. So it squeezes out the moisture more efficiently. So generally we'll see higher ratio snowfall, which means more snowfall accumulation for the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. Typically 10-to-1 ratio, which is 1 inch of snow, or 1 inch of liquid, I should say, would produce 10 inches of snow. This is going to start out like that and probably end up 13 to 15 to 1, which means if you kind of average everything out, about 12 to 1, you're looking at generally about a foot of snow for every inch of liquid. And yeah, I think plenty of you, at least scattered about across our northern counties, are going to be seeing similar accumulations as we go throughout this event. Now, let's take a look at a little PowerPoint slide I have put together. This is kind of based off of a show I did this morning for our Neoweather Daily video. But winter storm warnings currently in effect, or technically will go into effect at 1 a.m. on Sunday, but more or less this is out there for everybody to see right now. This will go through Monday morning. So yes, Super Bowl Sunday. This is the super snowstorm, of course, but you know what? We're not going to see just Sunday being impacted. The Monday morning commute not going to be pretty at all for most of the area. So winter storm warnings in effect from Cuyahoga County to Richland, Stark, Columbiana, Mahoning, Trumbull, Ashtabula, Lake County, pretty much all of northeastern Ohio except for Tuscarawas and Carroll, where a winter weather advisory is in effect. Now that's because there's going to be some mixing. We're not going to see a ton of rain or a mix, but there will be enough to cut down on snow totals, and that means less significant accumulations there. So the weather headlines for this weekend snowstorm: snow arriving early Sunday morning. Hey, it's already 9:14 Eastern Standard Time, and there's not too many more hours to go till we get into Sunday morning. So hopefully you guys prepared and got everything all ready to go. But we will see that snow move in generally from west to east after 2 a.m. A little bit more on that in just a bit. Tomorrow, overall, it's looking generally on the, generally on the light side for at least the morning hours into the early afternoon. Then we're going to step things up a little bit. It's going to be very steady, and we will likely see moderate snow take over, especially by Sunday evening, So your Super Bowl parties traveling to, not going to be the world's best, but I think everybody can handle it. Not going to be a catastrophe, but moderate to even heavy snow is going to fall during that game tomorrow. And unfortunately, that means coming home is not going to be fun, and the roads are going to possibly be treacherous, especially untreated areas. So you definitely want to be careful and be safe. And we're going to see that snow continue through the overnight and start to lighten once we go through the morning commute Monday, and then it'll shut off early Monday afternoon. But the morning commute, again, I want to stress, is probably going to be very bad in many locations. There's a lot of snow. Yes, it's over a day and a half or so, but still a lot of snow, and the road crews are not going to do a fantastic job, even if they're out there 24 hours, keeping up with all that. 7 to 11 inches, that's a very general snowfall accumulation. Some of you will definitely be getting more. A little bit more on that in just a moment. Now we want to bring you, again, another graphic that shows you kind of the surface elements of this storm, what's going on. So this is your snow, as we showed you just a little bit ago, on the 3D Max. Have this pre-programmed time-wise already from this morning, so that's why we're advancing without me wanting it to. But again, a cold front's lined up here. We're going to see this cold front eventually drop in, which means much colder air will filter in. That's why I mentioned dropping temperatures. But we have rain on the southern half, and if that moves generally eastward, the southern third of Ohio, is going to deal with at least some rain from this. It's going to greatly cut down on totals, and you're only looking at a little bit of snowfall accumulation. So we'll see this low pressure eject out. This high pressure will say goodbye and hit off towards the east. And this storm is really going to build, and it'll strengthen, actually, as it'll be moving through our area. A little bit more on that, but a strengthening low pressure across the Ohio Valley isn't just going to throw some heavy snow our way, but it's going to throw snow that won't really die down for a little while. That's why it's going to last well into the day on Monday. This storm ain't going to jump to any East Coast like we've seen many times before that have really cut down on totals. Updated forecast for the day tomorrow looking like this. A general 2 to 5 inches of snow, especially across the north during the day. Temperatures across the north about 30 degrees, maybe 32 or so. If you go south of Route 30, the good possibility, and again, I apologize for the fast forwarding graphics, good possibility at seeing a general maybe 1 to 3 inches with a little bit of mix. South of Route 30, south of Canton. We're not looking at that mix getting much more north of that. It might be brief to Akron area, but that would really be about it. Light snow, again, throughout the morning hours, into the early afternoon before we go to more steady snow. And then as we go throughout the night tonight, or tomorrow night, it's going to be a little bit more windy. Temperatures are going to plummet through the 20s into the teens. And unfortunately, we're going to see the snow really add up through the evening hours, and there will be some blowing and drifting as well. So the forecast throughout the day on Sunday, a little bit more of a detailed breakdown. 30 degrees, the general temperature, light snow, becoming more steady during the afternoon and evening, then really becoming moderate as temperatures drop into the teens. That's when you start to get into your 15 to 1 ratios. It's really going to start piling up. And you're looking at a half a foot to a foot of snow, fairly widespread across the area, with a half a foot being a little bit on the lower total here. Again, look at this swath of snow from Akron to Youngstown, through Worcester, up through Cleveland and Brunswick and Medina, Lodi, east into Campbell, Struthers, up into Cortland, Lordstown, Kent, Ravenna, Geauga County, there through Chardon. A general 7 to 12 inches total from this snowstorm. There's going to be some lake enhancement across Lake, Northern Geauga, and most of Ashtabula County. Now that means a few more additional inches definitely will be added on throughout the duration of this event. 10 to 14 inches total, so about a foot of snow. We're fairly confident you're getting about a foot of snow in the primary snow belt, and you don't have to worry about those fickle where will squalls persist, lake effect snow bands, or anything like that. Pretty good deal. Now there's just going to be some better, stronger banding off towards the west. So Erie, Huron, portions of Lorain County, you're not used to major snowstorms, but you're going to be dealing with part of the brunt of this storm with another 10 to 14 inches coming from this. Very impressive there. So if you want to ride the roller coasters, I know Cedar Point isn't open, but should have been doing that today, because tomorrow they're going to be hard to find. If you look at the whole state now, we've seen some changes with the models, and I'll go into that a little bit, but generally a northern shift very typical with a panhandle hook system to see a northern shift within a few days of the event actually happening. And that's exactly what we saw with this. So 2-3 days ago, it looked like Columbus was going to be blasted with 10 inches of snow, while greater Cleveland maybe got 3 or 4, and Toledo got maybe 5, and Detroit got an inch or 2, and that would really be about it. But this is all changing due to the shift northward. Again, not really too far from expected, very typical. So the greater Columbus area, probably 2 inches of snow or so, and then dealing with rain as temperatures warm up nicely, and then barely an inch or so from pretty much the Ohio River counties on a little bit north, and possibly 3 inches as we go towards the extreme area of the green here. Northern central Ohio, a general swath of 3 to 5 inches. And then the southern portion of our area, the Route 30 corridor, you'll see 4 to 8 inches. You will see a mix during the afternoon into the evening hours tomorrow, some rain and some sleet. Very likely that will cut down on snowfall accumulations for you. And that is even for southern half of Mahoning County, all of Columbiana County, Canton included in that, Mansfield, down through southern Richland County as well. But northwest Ohio, you're pretty much the blockbuster area for this. A widespread 10 to 14 inches from Findlay to Toledo, westward to Defiance. Definitely an impressive snowstorm. And if you don't want 14 inches of snow, you're still probably getting around 10 or so, even if you head down to Lima. A general 8, 9, 10, 11 inches of snow, very likely. So significant winter storm. These don't come around every single day. They're not even typical every single year. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see some significant snowfall accumulation, something to write home about, probably something fairly memorable for a few years across northern Ohio before this is done. Now, there's plenty of data that we've been pouring through for days across the area. And we'll get into all of that information in a little bit. Actually, right now on one of my other computers, I'm looking at some of the latest model data. But let's break down the most likely risks on the Neo risk that you're going to see throughout the day, Sunday into Monday morning. Snowfall accumulations. Yes, 7 to 12 inches, maybe even a little bit more in spots. As we mentioned, a couple areas could see 14. That's pretty high, right? Those are severe amounts of snow. It's going to cause a lot of travel impacts, that's for sure. Sunday night, again, and Monday morning. The work and school commute Monday morning will be slow. Secondary roads will be very bad in spots. There's a chance your local school buses might not get out of the parking lot that easy. Again, a lot of superintendents probably calling off sometime Sunday night into early Monday morning because this is a widespread heavy snow event that's been talked about for days. But if you have to go out on the roadways, just leave yourself a lot of extra time and realize things aren't going to be that great. Maybe by later Monday morning on the main roads, things will be okay by then. It's still not going to be great. You have to really wait till the evening commute, I think, coming home Monday evening for things to at least be just wet and for the side roads to start to, instead of a huge amount of 6 to 12 inches of snow or so, to at least be attacked where it's just maybe some slush and at least drivable. Wind, yeah, I mentioned we will see some blowing and drifting. This isn't going to be a blizzard at all, folks. A blizzard technically is 35-mile-per-hour winds, reducing visibility to a quarter mile for 3 hours or longer. That has to be a sustained 35-mile-per-hour wind, and you don't even need anything more than light snow. In fact, if you just have snow on the ground blowing around, that constitutes a blizzard, so you don't have to have heavy snow falling. But still, wind will be a little bit of an impact. We will see generally a 15 to 20 mile per hour breeze with maybe a little bit of an additional gust at times. And that's going to blow snow back on the roadways. It's going to cause drifting, which causes additional problems. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about as far as the PowerPoint presentation that I conjured up to show you. But let me get back here and I'll click that off. We'll stop sharing our screen here when I figure that out. There we go. And our plan of attack from here on out, again, you guys can ask any questions you want. If you want to tweet me, I'm WeatherGuy10 on Twitter, all of course one word. And if you want to ask anything in here, you can just comment in the group chat here. This is something that we don't typically use too much. I think it's been about a year since I've used it. We'll do it on occasion before big winter storms, and probably eventually severe weather outbreaks and whatnot, but it's something that's used a few times a year just to kind of have a general discussion about what's expected with the weather. But again, right now, anybody can ask a question and comment. It could be about weather in general. It doesn't actually have to be about this storm, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about some of the models that we've been looking at. If I can pull up the right thing here. There we go. Let's see here. Let's pull up some latest weather model data. The 0Z NAM, 4-kilometer NAM just coming in now. I'll get ready and screen share this in just a second. There we go. All right, so this is brand new model data. I have not seen it. Don't know what exactly to expect. It's probably not going to be completed yet, but this is a model that just started coming over the last half an hour to an hour or so. It's a high resolution model. It generally does a pretty good job detecting what's going to happen within the next 48 hours or so. So here we go. It does a pretty good job at the current location of where the snow is, kind of in the Indiana area, not quite into Ohio. I think it's a little bit north on the northerly end of this. So that's something to keep in mind. And yeah, it seems to be a little bit on the north side, but it spreads everything in by 4 a.m. during the morning hours. Nothing really too surprising. This is some light, steady snow, a few breaks, a little bit of a scattering pattern there. And then as we go throughout the morning, again, not really too surprised. This isn't going to be 100% steady from the time it starts through the whole day tomorrow and Monday. So here's a break in the action as we go throughout the morning hours tomorrow. But then this should fill back in, and there we go. Towards the evening hours tomorrow, it not only fills back in, but this is heavy snow here in the dark blues from back into near Lima, all the way through Mansfield, a little bit north of Mansfield, especially it looks like northern Wayne County at least, portions of Ashland County, Medina County for sure, and northern Summit County, especially the lakeshore counties. There's some pretty good snow there. We'll continue to advance. This is as far out as it goes at about 9 p.m. tomorrow. So 24 hours from now, here's the weather picture with one computer model. This has actually been an outlier, meaning that it's not one of the models that kind of likes to play nice and agrees with all the others. This one has had a generally northern solution compared to all the others. So this is at least a mix, if not rain, all the way up to Akron, Canton, and Norwalk, just really far north. Now, again, if you're in northern Summit or Medina County, Cuyahoga, the snow belt, you're talking major heavy snow going on tomorrow night, 24 hours from now. Probably easy 1 to 2 inch per hour rates for a couple hours there. So that's going to drop some significant snow. But again, this specific model has been generally more north. Let's take a look at the temperatures on it. I want to show you a couple of the other models as well. But this trend has generally been well north on this model, and it's been an outlier, which means that it's typically the only one showing it. Temperatures starting off are too cold right away from tonight, and it does warm us up to the lower 30s, which again, if the precipitation is further north, that means the track of the low pressure system is further north, and that means more warm air gets brought into the system. So because it's showing a more northerly solution, no surprise that tomorrow through the afternoon it'd be showing low 30s, right around the freezing mark, even for northern Ohio near the lakeshore there. It got up to 33 for a click. So we will cool down. As you can see, here comes the cold air. That cold front will sag southward across the area, but generally it tries to pump in mid 30s especially from Dover, New Philly up to Canton. So we'll see about that. I would tend to disagree. See our temperatures going out to 24 hours from now. Look at it, brings in the cold, and this is when you're going to have the heavy snow. So we're still talking heavy snow and temperatures in the teens, which means high ratios. So it's still something definitely to consider, but I think this model solution is a little bit too far north. So let's take a, for the heck of it, before I get off of the NAM model, let's take a look at total snowfall accumulation through tomorrow night, just for the heck of it. All right, this is as far out as it goes, 30 hours out, about. Generally, I think it's a little bit less than that, more like about 24 hours out. That's a lot of snow, folks. This is just through this is through 1 a.m. This is through 1 a.m. early Monday morning, late Sunday night. That's a foot of snow across northwest Ohio. Again, look at how far north it brings the rainfall. It really cuts down on totals. 5, 3, 4 inches. That would be it through 1 a.m. Monday morning. But Lakeshore still getting pounded 8, 9 inches of snow there. So we'll see. Generally, this has been one of the most northerly trended models. Just 1 second. Have a few people saying there's an issue with the chat here. Anybody having any issues watching here? We'll see if anybody posts in there. Chat. Looks good on my end. I have it pulled up on the other computer. All right, guys, just let me know if you can't hear me or if the feed's messed up a little bit. I apologize about that if that is a problem. We'll try to go through a couple more model solutions. This is a very short range, high resolution, rapid refresh model. It comes in every single hour. Definitely one of the favorites tools in the toolbox for any kind of short range weather pattern watching. So here is the latest run, and it brings in the initial batch of snow into the extreme western counties from Lorain to Mansfield pretty much around 2 a.m. tonight. And it tracks all this light to very briefly steady to moderate snow across the area through the morning into the late morning hours. This is about 10 a.m. and some steady snow there. It looks like we'll have a few breaks, and then we'll see some snow reload across the west. But again, it seems like models overall have trended to the northerly solution. So Akron, Canton, south, you are going to see the least amount of snow. It's still going to be a significant storm. We're talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. But north, I still think is a full go for an average around 10, 11 inches of snow. Pretty significant in a lot of spots. That is for sure. So we'll take a look at a couple more computer models here. This will be the GFS model. It's kind of the long-range forecast model run by the NOAA, National Weather Service, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So we'll take a little gander at that. Looks like it should be the 18Z GFS, which was run earlier. Take a look at that for Cleveland area. And we will put on our little total snowfall button, and I think this is pretty realistic. This is the 18Z, so I took a gander at this earlier. This model came out during the afternoon hours. The new one will be out within the next 45 minutes or so. But it blasts northwest Ohio with a solid 9 to 12 inches of snow. That's why we're going with the 10 to 14 forecast in a good portion of that area. And it blasts most of northern Ohio with a solid 7 to 10 inches of snow, with a little bit less once you get into Akron, and then sharp cutoff from pretty much Canton to Dover, New Philly there. Dover, New Philly, you're probably not seeing too much snow. But again, this is a very realistic solution that we see a lot of northeastern Ohio with about 8, 9, 10, 11 inches of snow in a few areas at that foot mark, and maybe even 13 or 14 inches in spots. Significant winter storm. There's a lot more goodies as far as goodies go that could show you different kinds of snow maps and whatnot. Here's one, for instance. Here, a lot of these models, there's one specific model version, but then depending on what website and different mathematical algorithms, you get different snowfall forecasts. So this one in the red is 16 to 18 inches. Not realistic, but just showing you that that solution is out there. This dark brownish color or lightish brownish color here, that would be about 20 inches of snow for Ann Arbor, Jackson, Michigan, extreme northern Ohio. Yeah. 12 to 14 inches of snow pretty much across all of our northern counties, and then Akron seeing 10 to 12. Again, so this model is very high, but it just shows you what like the highest range could possibly be. Generally, all these totals will be lower, but just gives you a little idea what meteorologists look at when we're planning on doing our forecast and working on the forecast throughout the storm. And there's a NAM version of this as well. Again, that was the GFS version. So we'll take a look at, this is probably still the NAM from this morning. Not incredibly different. Here's your main bulk of snow. This is the heaviest snow of the whole storm over Toledo to Sandusky up to extreme southern Michigan, where Monroe is, and then it slides a huge swath. So generally, instead of looking at this for specific totals, it's a better idea to look at it for where the heaviest snow is going to be. And I do think this is pretty realistic that the heaviest snow, Lima to Findlay to Toledo, and that's where your 10 to 14 solid inches of snow will likely be. Now, this model thinks 14 to 20 inches, too aggressive, but still the general idea, if you kind of follow these contours where the cutoff of heavy snow will be, kind of stands true. Here's your winter storm warnings in effect pretty much all the way from Iowa through Chicago, here Cleveland to Hartford, Connecticut, Providence, Rhode Island. Again, this is a west to east type track. You're not going to see too many panhandle hooks produce this type of a snow swath. Typically, it'll be more from southwest to northeast. Little bit of the latest forecast discussion I'll try to pull up from the National Weather Service to see what they're thinking. Read through that really quick and mention some things with that as well. So this is the near-term forecast. They're discussing about watching the snowstorm develop, the latest model guidance through the day on Sunday. Heavy snows remain on track across, especially the north towards Toledo. Could top around a foot. That's what I've been saying as well. Continuing to say the NAM model is the warmest. It continues to move north. It's going to pretty much bring rain through central Ohio. They're going to wait till the latest 0Z suite of models is in, which is coming in right now to make any kind of adjustments. Temperatures have definitely risen throughout the last several hours. They mentioned a Colorado low moving it into eastern Missouri. Yeah, I think it definitely has more characteristics of a Rocky Mountain or Colorado low than it does a panhandle hook, but there's a combination of both. It really is kind of a similarity between both because it's picking up a lot of Gulf moisture, folks. This storm system here is definitely tapped into the Gulf. It also has energy coming out of the Pacific Northwest, and all this cold Arctic air over portions of Canada getting pulled into the system. So, and when the system first came into the United States 2 days ago, it came out of the southern Pacific. So all the moisture here through California. So a few different moisture sources and the cold air blasting in, the warm air here. That's a blockbuster winter storm. a widespread swath of 8 to 12 inches, definitely with this. And again, you're starting to see even more snowfall reports come in. The storm's really just getting going, and already a few inches of snow falling just within the last handful of hours or so. The storm will continue to blossom. But again, just want to read through a little bit of this. Generally thinking maybe an inch or two at the absolute most by early morning tomorrow. They're going to track the low right over the Ohio River through Sunday evening. Again, Ohio River track, really good for our heavy snow events across northern Ohio, especially Akron to Cleveland. The GFS and European model are the ECMWF, very similar. They're blending those two models. I also agree. I showed you the one model called the GFS that showed the snowfall amounts that are generally around 8, 9, 10 inches. Very agreeable solution right there. And the European model, not too different. So a good blend, kind of a taking both models and mixing them together and kind of blending them. We're seeing what was called overrunning snow with that initial batch of warm air with the warm front. Possibility for a little bit of sleet with that as well. And then we're looking really for the accumulating snow to get going and start pounding, especially our northern counties. And we'll have to see the exact track of the low pressure system. It'll wobble a little bit. And that's a big thing. A wobble of 25 miles could place the heaviest snow just along the lakeshore, and with dramatic cutoffs for even Akron, Canton. But if you look at a 25 mile wobble to the south, you're talking about widespread heavy snow for pretty much half of northeastern Ohio. So definitely a difference or so that could still happen even throughout the early morning hours tomorrow. So they don't really have a ton of information across the area. They mentioned there's going to be some scattered snow showers, some lake effect, lake enhancement through the day on Monday. We're going to have a very cold spell Monday night, or even Monday morning is going to be cold, wind chills below zero, and then Monday night into Tuesday it'll be really cold again. Let's pull up a 7-day forecast here done by forecaster Jim Sullivan here on Neoweather.com. Show you some of these low temperatures expected over the next few nights. Very, very cold. Look at that, -2 Monday night. Yeah, wind chills for Tuesday morning, probably around -10. Possibly some school cancellations then. Then as we go into Wednesday night, after this next system moves through General Clipper, -4. How about -7 Thursday night? Very cold air locked in. There could be a couple days there, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, that we could potentially see at least some school closings, with Monday obviously being fairly widespread if all this comes to fruition, especially for our northern counties where we do expect the heaviest snow to fall. Let me take a look if we have any kind of questions. Shut off the screen share here for a moment if it wants me to. There we go. Does not look like there's been any kind of questions from what I can see. I believe this is typically where you would see that. Let's see. Again, I don't really use this feature too much, so it's kind of cool to just play along with it. There's the feature called Q&A, but it says disabled. Not sure why. Definitely something to play around with a little bit for future use. That would definitely be a good idea. But it doesn't look like there's any comments at this current time. I believe you can draw. That's cool. See if you can draw off screen. No, it doesn't look like it. We'll go back to showing a couple different models here in a second. There we go. All right. This is one of the things I really like to look at whenever I'm forecasting. It doesn't matter if we're getting a snowstorm or not. It's called a mediagram, and it plots kind of just a general what all the models are saying, kind of combines them together and takes some other factors. So this is Cleveland's mediagram. So this is all the different snowfall forecasts from all the different models. This one says 16 inches of snow. Whoa, that's a lot of snow. Where the one in the blues and yellows here says about 8 inches of snow. So you take the medium, and again, as what I've been preaching all along, a swath of 10 inches. 10-inch snow, good agreement on that. That's pretty much what we'd be going with for the greater Cleveland area. If you want to look for Akron, Canton, you can. Just so many cool things out there in the weather world to be able to look at that can help us forecast. As I mentioned, you're close to the snow cutoff. Look at the variation in totals. It goes anywhere from an inch or so of snow. Just an inch of snow from this for Akron, Canton to 10 inches of snow. That's pretty much your maximum right now. We would have to have that 25-mile southern shift really to see the best potential for significant snow. You're going to see some mixing, but I'd say a half a foot, very likely, probably 7 inches or so from that storm. So that's just kind of one of the general things we like to look at. Here is something else that we'll typically look at very often. This is a model data from earlier. Break this down a little bit. Here's what we got going on. This is what I mean by Ohio River track. This is the center of the low pressure system. Here in the green color, that just shows precipitation. The light greens, light precipitation forecasted by the model. Darker greens, heavier precipitation. So that's pretty heavy precipitation. If you ever get into some blues, you're talking about some very, very heavy rain or snow. Generally, over the area through tomorrow night is the slightly darker green, and that's where your heavy snow zone is. This blue line right here is generally a very rough estimate known as the 540 line or rain snow line. There's a ton more that goes into it to decide if you're north of the line, you're going to get snow, and you're south of the line, you're going to get rain. But for general speaking sake, north of the line, here's your heavy snow area. So that's just a little bit of very model basics as we continue there. This is now late morning Monday, still some light snow showers around. That's just one model. Here's the GFS model. Again, I think this is the best model right now to kind of lean on with the storm. It sends in some moderate snow by later afternoon. And then here's the heavy stuff for sure. Again, this is a little bit north of the Ohio River. This is the center of the low pressure. This is at about midnight, 1 a.m. or so, early Monday morning. This is heavy snow across northeastern Ohio with some mixing, some rain across our southern areas. This becomes a pretty strong low pressure system, a little bit southeast of Pittsburgh there by the morning rush on Monday, but still moderate snow falling, and then light snow as we go throughout the day Monday before it clears out by Monday night. So again, all these different models. This is the European model, typically one of the most accurate middle range models. And again, darker greens hitting on in as we go throughout the night tomorrow. Here's your low pressure center, perfect Ohio River track, cold air in place, heavy snow for at least the northern counties, probably Akron to Youngstown as well, points north. And then morning commute, still moderate snow before it starts to clear out, and then it's done by Monday night. So that is kind of what we look at. Again, not showing you absolutely everything, but those are a lot of the things that we have to look at before not only forecasting a winter storm or a severe weather outbreak, but just if it's going to be 75 and sunny, or if we're going to have a little bit of rain, whatnot. These are the computer models, the forecast models that we talk about all the time. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just that, but that's kind of the basics of what we look at. These are pretty significant storms overall, and you'll see these being shown with computer models a week or so out a lot, and then it'll turn into hardly anything. And that's why a lot of the times you'll hear either us or any of your local TV news media meteorologists say anything about, well, we could be watching a big snowstorm coming up at the end of the week. Well, a lot of times things get a little bit more weak and mediocre as we get actually towards them happening. But this is less than a day out, folks, and this is what the models show. Pretty significant winter storm. They've had this idea for a little while, so it's really nothing too much of a shock. again, as we look at the current storm right now over the area, put that map into motion. Hit on back to our hangout here, close out of that. And again, if you guys have any questions that you think you might want to ask or anything, fire away. We'll be wrapping this up pretty quick. Again, I want to breeze through our impacts. Heavy snow arriving mainly tomorrow evening for your Super Bowl parties through the evening into the overnight, becoming more moderate to light through the morning commute on Monday, but the damage is going to be done. Several inches of snow will have already fallen. Don't focus specifically on if you're going to get 6 or 7 inches or 10, 11, 12 inches of snow. It's still going to be a significant storm for most of northeastern Ohio, and that will mean plenty of school closings, plenty of delays, and a bad commute around the area's road thoroughfares. And especially, I mean, driving just across the side streets and whatnot, it's going to be pretty difficult till they're out there and able to clear those up. The driveways are going to need to be shoveled a lot, snow blowed a few times, definitely a lot of snow in spots. Heavy drifting, not a huge concern, but we will have some gusty winds to cause some blowing and drifting back on the roadways. So it's going to be a very busy time for plow folks the next 48 hours or so, that's for sure, as we continue to go throughout the next couple days. But again, current look at our radar once again as we take a look at that. I'm going to switch back to our screen share. There we go. So here's what we got going on. You can see the storm continues to move eastward, getting a little bit moderate. We'll see an increasing trend, generally a strengthening trend as it moves across the Ohio River. It's not going to be 100% continuous from when it stops to when it ends. There will be some breaks in between, potential for a dry slot to cut down on amounts a little bit, especially south, but I'd take it to the bank. 8 to 12 inches of snow won't be that far from the normal number across most of the northern counties across northern Ohio, especially northwest Ohio. I mean, 10 to 14 inches. That's the forecast. A lot of you are going to be between 10 and 12. I'm really pretty sure on that. And Cleveland, probably about 10 inches of snow. I don't think too much less than 8. Really don't. So significant winter storm, 5-6 Akron, Canton. That's conservative even at this point. So you're all going to be inundated with plenty of snowfall to go around the next few days, the next couple of days or so. Switch back here. Again, I wanted to thank you, everybody, for joining me this evening. We'll try to do these a little bit more regularly. We'll try to get some more people on, do a little bit better job promoting and whatnot, and then have a good chat, some more questions throughout the time here. But again, follow me on Twitter, WeatherGuide10. Tweet me any kind of questions you want. I'll be sure to answer them. And then also Neoweather_com on Twitter, our professional Neoweather page. And of course, if you haven't done so already, the Neoweather Facebook page, you can give us a like and follow for continuous weather information, not only on this winter storm, but all weather, all year round. We cover everything. So stay up to date tomorrow. All the social media, neoweather.com, of course, as well. We'll be keeping you updated, videos, text articles, graphics, radar posts, just little text blurbs on Twitter and whatnot throughout the whole storm and even afterwards. So you can hopefully be able to rely on us for all the good information there. But have a good night. Be safe during the storm. And if you're a Seahawks fan, go Seahawks. If you're a Patriots fan, go Patriots. Super Bowl game tomorrow and a snow bowl for us here in northeastern Ohio. Have a good night, everybody.